talks, followed by the panel on the implementation of these technologies in communities. And then in the afternoon, we will finish up with another 3 talks. So let's go directly to our first talk, if you please. And Shannon, if you could give Marguerite McKenzie the floor to introduce Marie-Odile and Cécile.
Okay. Yes. Can you hear me? Okay. Well, very pleased to do this. I've known Marie-Odile. I'm trying to figure out how many decades we've known each other now and worked together. She's a full professor of linguistics at Carleton University in Canada. She's active in Indigenous language documentation, maintenance, and revitalization. She's always used participatory action research framework to work with communities and individuals interested in seeing their language thrive in the 21st century. Exploring how information and communication technologies can help Indigenous languages, she has co-developed several websites and online dictionaries for languages of the Algonquian family, beginning really with Cree, Innu, including Atikamekw, and moving on to Blackfoot. She leads the co-creation of the Algonquian Linguistic Atlas, a large collaborative project that is building a digital infrastructure for Algonquian dictionaries and other resources. In 2017, she received a Governor General's Innovation Award for her Indigenous language work. And her colleague, Dr. Cécile Planchon, her research interests lie primarily in sociolinguistics and minority languages vitality. She focuses mainly on languages in minority contexts, language assessment, language use and variation, as well as language attitudes. She's currently an adjunct professor at Carleton University and has worked as a researcher in Marie-Odile Junker's team for 3 years. And I'll just say on a personal level, she's been very helpful to us in assessment projects planned for the Innu in Labrador, and also has access to experts in statistics, something we really, really need. Thank you.
Thank you, Marguerite. I will need some superpowers to share my screen, please.
We could see it just now.
No.
Okay, it was okay, it was visible and now it's not.
No, I still don't have presenter abilities. Oh, now I can. Yes. So, welcome everybody. You should all be seeing the tulips from Ottawa, Orawachnuchi, Carleton University. I'm pleased to be talking to you from the Algonquian Anishinaabe territory, which is in full bloom, as you can see today. And now, if I'm lucky, my PowerPoint will work properly and replace the tulips. All right, it looks like it's good. Okay. So we're going to be talking, Cécile and myself today, about remote online language documentation and lexicography. We'll be giving examples and draw examples from 3 language groups: the East Cree here in northern Quebec, the Innu in Labrador and Quebec as well, and the Atikamekw. As Marguerite said, I was introduced to, Margaret has been my mentor, and I've been introduced to the first East Cree I started working more than 25 years ago. And then the Innu for about 15 years now, and the Atikamekw for 8 years, with Cécile joining us nearly 4 years ago to help with the Atikamekw dictionary. So Cécile will give the perspective of a younger scholar facing the pandemic in academia. So those 3 examples, I will show with East Cree that we had already established practices of working at a distance and online. With Innu, how the pandemic has forced us to develop new practices leading to improved results. And for Atikamekw, the challenges for new scholars like Cécile and speakers new to the work. So starting with the first example, I just want to put everything a bit in context. Like Marguerite said in the intro, we've been working for a number of years developing a shared infrastructure for Algonquian languages, mostly dictionaries, but there's a linguistic atlas also. I show this page in French on purpose because one of the challenges we encounter working with languages in Quebec is that today a number of indigenous people who are bilingual Innu or Atikamekw French cannot attend the conference like this one. So that's always, we are working with bilingual indigenous language French or indigenous language English populations, and sometimes both, which is an additional challenge. So sorry, I'm losing my thing. Yeah. So just what you see today on the web is just the tip of the iceberg, right? This common infrastructure funded by specific projects and partners organizations has really an invisible part and services that since we developed dictionaries, we have continued offering to support the communities in their efforts to provide language services over the years. So currently, we maintain 3 cloud-based virtual machines via my personal faculty account, Compute Canada. I hint governments out there, it would be nice if you stepped in at some point. 1 shared public server and 3 local servers. We have customized open source data management software to run web application, like all the oral stories databases, the atlas, the dictionaries. We customize about 12 WordPress sites. We provide data backup and synchronization services for the team, SVN, FTP. We manage 7 domains like Innu-aimun.ca, etc., with multiple subdomains. These require security certificates updates every 3 months. And in 2020, due to the pandemic, we had to add data sharing service for the team. Now, sorry, this may be a bit technical, but I really wanted people to become aware of what is under the tip of the iceberg, right? So I'll move to the tip of the iceberg now. So with the East Cree, we have 9 East Cree speaking community, and both Marguerite and I have been working for years with the Cree School Board as a partner, started East Cree Org 21 years ago, and we created, we already had established practices of working at a distance and online. So I just thought I'd show you some vintage things. So back in 2010, we were already doing tech support and teleconferences in between our meeting in person. What I wanted to show you was this is work I did with Lucy back in 2008, and we put in examples that illustrate how the different conjugations are used. If you look at the equivalent in the Southern dialect, there are no examples. So Southern people, I'd like you to take these pages in the Southern, proofread them, and try to look at what we've done for the Northern and try to think of pieces of text you could use. I'm going to skip ahead a bit. The people who are seeing little boxes for the syllabics, which browser are you using? Aha. Okay, and another for fun. So, I'm sorry, I have a hard time switching here. Another for fun is a vintage video tutorial, also around that time, which is about how to type in Cree syllabics. It's in Cree.
This is being start all programs. Key managed it. This is beat there being. It's a bit nothing. I'm not edition. I did. It's did. Great. 약간 BJ Cree Uni East гэж 여긴 제 하거든 제 대비엔 또 어때나 대 nog dem snadet kijk je Stein 제 선함 위는 감 선함 kijk je je sted 하거든.
Okay, so of course this is obsolete, but it is still something. These are technologies that people were quite familiar with, and so transitioning to the new world wasn't too painful, right? Last year, when the pandemic hit, the Cree School Board relied on East Creole website sections in April, especially since in 2019 we had completely redeveloped the literacy lessons and then added some second language, but it was mostly for the literacy. And so they provided direct link to the activities and some lessons from the Cree School Board website. And this was also easily done by them because some teachers had already been using those lessons in the whiteboard in the classrooms, so they knew about it, and so they just selected what they needed to move the schooling online. So this is from the East Creole website, which contains the Cree Online Dictionary. And so another example is that last fall, our partner, the Cree School Board, asked for retraining the Cree teachers on using the online East Cree Dictionary, especially for advanced functions. And this dictionary exists since 2005. It's regularly updated. It's really the original one is Marguerite's baby, and then I joined in. And you can see the usage has been steadily growing with some drops when we released offline versions. There have always been offline versions used as well, right? But what's striking is that in 2021, in 4 months, we've already reached what we did in the year before. So is it the effect of those tutorials? Let's hope. So anyway, because we did this on training, they also asked us to prepare us. I mean, my tech person who is the one looking after under the iceberg, Del Tocono, and myself, we prepared some tutorial videos. So here's one I prepared for the relaxed search in the Cree dictionary.
The dictionary has a built-in relaxed search that allows you to find words that you don't know how to write very well. Imagine that I don't know about the vowel length of that word. The dictionary will automatically suggest to me words with the correct spelling. Sometimes what people type can be quite different from the way the word is actually spelled. For example, I can go to this sliding bar. Here, I can reduce the precision in order to get more results. And indeed, this is the word I was looking for.
So apparently,
The dictionary has a built-in.
the teachers were quite happy with those improvements. I'm going to now move on to the Innu case, where I have chosen to show you how, unlike the Cree, we did not really have a tradition in Quebec to work at a distance. And we used to meet and have workshops, and mostly because I work more with the Institut Chakapèche, they are based in Ouachat, and they had money to bring people in. So they had a tradition of getting together, and then either they would come to Ottawa or would go to Cécile and so on. But we had no choice. We had to develop new practices. So I will take as an example the Innu Online Dictionary, which was published online in 2011. So later, there was a second dictionary that Marguerite and I worked on. It's a trilingual dictionary, Innu, English, and Français. Has over 27,000 entries, probably one of the largest dictionaries out there, resulting from a large collaboration and teamwork the Cura project, directed by Marguerite Mackenzie at Memorial, and numerous partners, including the Institut Chakapech and MAMU in Labrador. So you see the evolution here since 2011. We can see this is around the time apps were released sometimes, but still in Labrador, they mostly use the app, whereas in Quebec, most of the queries here come from Quebec. But again, you know, in 4 months, we've already over 100,000 words being searched in the dictionary. So one of the things we had done in 2012 at the demand of our user was to add a very discreet comment function. And only the ones who knew about it could comment. And teachers and Innu users were made aware of it during various training. The goals were to get feedback on the entries and to improve the dictionary. And we had received over 300 pertinent comments since 2012, and we were dealing with them occasionally, once a year or even 2 years, getting a meeting. Sometimes Marguerite and I and Laurelane Hassler were doing what we could, consulting with Yvette Molène and Jérémy Ambroise, but we had decided this year, 2020, Chakapech had secured the money. We're going to have a week-long workshop to get to the bottom of all those comments, right? And the pandemic hit, and we just couldn't meet. So we just decided to move to online meetings with Zoom. And so in July, August, for all summer, actually, we met every Tuesday and Thursdays for 2 hours, so 4 hours a week. And then starting in September, we've been meeting every Thursday for 2 hours. And starting in January or late December, a whole bunch of new members, elders, retired. The clientele for this is retired teachers. They just love it. And you know, retired faculty, they have time on their hands, and so they attend those meetings, and it's wonderful. And so here I'm going to show you 3 examples of how we worked and what has been really interesting. Okay, so we organized the comments that were received by types, questions, corrections, new words, synonym, new definition. And I'm going to show you how we work at a distance to address some of these things. For example, here is a synonym question, and we ended up even adding an image to it.
Huh? De ma mehen na katua. Taya huatano.
So we're starting from the comment list here.
Je sais pas si tu as déjà vu ça, comme Marie-Odile, c'est surtout à ma Syriette, ils font ça, les femmes, en tout cas, moi que j'ai vu, là, le marchage d'écorce.
Ma grand-mère faisait ça aussi. Ma grand-mère Marguerite, là, on était, elle ramassait ça, puis elle mordillait ses têtes, il m'a montré comment on faisait.
So we ended up adding a picture to the dictionary of that to illustrate that word and that form of art. Another point is that in the Algonquian dictionary infrastructure, and a dictionary database like the Innu one is maintained online. Not all dictionaries are, but when they're in a mature stage, it's easier to just make corrections on the fly. Marguerite just sent me 3 corrections on the Iskri dictionary just in the last week, and we can just make them because it's never finished and never perfect, right? So in this video is an example of a correction made directly online and resulting in an immediate change in the web version, which is the most up-to-date. It's about a negative connotation. For those of you who don't speak French, because of course we do those meetings in French, the example said something like the priest often invites children to his house, which was not a good idea to have these days.
Parce que was po itse tanda.
Oui, tu as un peu.
Ne tentama na mian ten not ne no ten we kai mo we chut on te wasat we chut ne no ne
Marta Poussin. Ma jaji mi écoute nena pour pas pour jaji wa oui tramones nesta affaire-là. Ya oui hame te ka chukut ma jaji ke ma mi chopi pour jaji tartan au restaurant. Agora mi écoute na Jérémy tartan japi pour moi te
Mitso job.
mi chopi. Agora au restaurant de tartan.
And our poor typist has like 12 pairs of eyes checking on, right?
The child invites.
And we keep a note of our changes in the admin notes.
Ai-je une phrase remplacée?
Ah, faut en train de se chercher une manière de...
And we're checking online now, and
Nouvelle phrase ici.
the new sentence has been added and changed trilingually. Okay, so as you can see, this was my excuse to get some indigenous languages heard during the presentation also, which I think is really nice, to my ears anyways. So every word in the dictionary has a part of speech, and we have supporting pages edited by the team to provide notions that are relevant to the dictionaries. For here a VAI verb stem in long A, I, or E, and sometimes comments are addressed not in the dictionary itself, but in adding such pages, or in even we started doing a frequently asked questions section in the Innu-aimun website, because people ask all kinds of questions about the language. Finally, here's an example of how we're using the video conference application to record the pronunciation of new words. If someone would have told me I would do that 2 years ago, I would have screamed. I was so attached to my quality wave recording in studio, but no. We now do this, and rather than subjecting elders to a phonetic transcription session online, it's not the ideal recording conditions, but heck, we found it surprisingly acceptable, right? And as Cécile will show you as well with the next example.
Ok, bon ben, allons-y avec la prononciation. Donc, merci Philomène. Yvette?
Nani hohwewe nanu.
Ok, Marie?
Nani shishkowe nanu.
Ok. Et Judith?
nani hoskwe nanu.
Encore une fois, j'ai entendu un courriel qui a fait bing, s'il vous plaît.
Nani hoskwe nanu.
Magnifique. Ok.
Okay, so I'll pass the baton to Cécile, who will now talk about challenges for new scholars like her and speakers new to the work.
Can you all hear me? Okay, good. How much time do I have left, Nick, please?
It's good.
It's good? Okay, I didn't hear you. All right, so the Atikamekw communities are like 3 communities plus the city of Latuc in like northern Quebec. So it's Manawan, Wimotachi, and Opichuan. Okay, perfect, thank you. And can you handle the slide, Marie-Odile? Tu fais la prochaine diapo? Marie-Odile?
I cannot turn off my sound when I'm the presenter. It's tricky. So I'm trying not to have an echo from my computer for you. Go ahead.
It's okay. Just put the next slide, please. Okay. So if you can all see, this is a picture of the Atikamekw dictionary. So as you can see on the left-hand side, so we have the entry in Atikamekw with the definition and then the translation in French for now. English will come later probably. And then if you look at the second word, esipan, you have like a little icon of the headphones and then you have a picture. It's because we actually have the sound recorded and then the picture of the word entry. So today we're going to talk more about how to record sound. So Marie-Odile, if you could get to the next slide. Okay, so for the Atikamekw project, we have two distinct parts. So the first one is the dictionary, and then we have the verb conjugator. So Marie-Odile has been working remotely and on-site since 2013, and there is an offline database, so people can add words and change the words and on the database. And then we have an online version who's accessible to everybody, but we make changes daily on it. So it's really in progress. And everybody who works on the dictionary has an access point from home, and then they can synchronize all of their work. And then every change that's made on one computer is actually synchronized to everybody else's computer. And then we have teleconferences every week on shared screen. So that's mostly with Zoom. And so one presenter shares the screen. So usually it's Marie-Odile or I, and then we work together. Before the pandemics, we had between 6 and 12, sometimes even, right, Marie-Odile, workshops per year. But as you all know, the pandemic happened. So we had to forego the in-person meetings. So we switched to everything online. And so we had to adapt a little bit. So this is one of our main sound recording studio. So her name is Jeannette, and she's the best case scenario when you want to record sounds, because she's been recording and editing on her own for years now. So she knows how to use the recording software. She has very good quality equipment, and she knows how to edit, and she knows how to handle all of the not so fun part, which is like naming files properly, replacing files if she wants to re-record. And she knows how to use the cloud service, which is very, very helpful for us because it's like a little bit less time consuming. So this is the ideal scenario when it comes to recording. But we only have her, and because of the pandemics, we had to train 2 new people. So the first idea was to train them in recording and then sound editing. So the first one was for the Canada Heritage Project, for which we had to add a new dialect. So if you remember, we talked about 3 communities in the Atikamekw community. So we have recordings for Manawan and Wemutachi, but we needed to add the dialect of Opichuan. So this is what we're talking about here. And the 2 people that actually with whom we worked had no previous experience in sound recording, but they were both fluent and literate in Atikamekw, which is like very, very important. Because of the pandemics, we just didn't have the opportunity to be there for them and train them like hands-on training. So everything had to be done online, which is never ideal because you have to work. So we used a lot of the software that's called TeamViewer, which actually allows Dell, so our informatician extraordinaire, to actually install a lot of things on other people's computer remotely. So that was very, very helpful. But as you all know, working from home is really not the ideal solution. Oh, 3 minutes. Okay, so we had to make do with the noise and with the quality on the internet. Some days it was bad, so we had to postpone the meetings and stuff. So that was some of the challenges. And when it came to really recording, some of the verb forms are very challenging to record. So we had to check every time for the accuracy of the documentation, for the spelling decisions. So it would take a lot of time. On the other side, the like vocabulary entries for the dictionary are usually much easier to record. So these are the two solutions we had to reject, like these two new people recording themselves for a difficult material. It was just not possible. We had to be the one recording, and they could not edit their sound files because it would require too much training for the time that we had at the time. So the solutions we actually adopted and that worked. So like I said, I supervised all the recordings of the verb forms, and we had always an expert technolinguist who was there to make sure that the recordings were accurate. And then, so we held all the meetings on Zoom, and we had to make sure that they all had the proper setting for the computer, microphone, all the gear. And all the sound editing and file naming were done by a member of the team at Carleton because she had a lot of experience with that. So this is a little recording of how it went. Okay, so let's forgo it because we can't hear anything. So
Oui, on y va.
It's strange because I just put it on.
Donc ça va être tout le temps avec les et à pitch devant. Ok. Donc c'est quand tu. Ok. Alors séance.
okay, so what I want to say, because I have like very little time left, it was a challenge, but there were like a lot of good things because to me it showed like how deeply committed everybody was to the project. In my opinion, even if it's just like a mini training, it's always better than no training at all. And I found that online was probably like a backdoor entrance that may lead to new interest in lexicography. And despite everything, despite being like very far from each other, I found that it was easier to keep in touch because we would actually see each other every day. So for me, it was very rewarding. It was also very helpful because I learned a lot, because it was like a very cozy meeting, so much more intimate. So it was easier to really interact with each other and ask questions and learn, despite all the downsides that you probably know about like online meetings. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry. I see. I got muted. I see. Oh. Okay, miigwech, Tinas kumitnach. Tinas kumitnan, sorry, miigwech. Do you have any questions?
We have about 12 minutes for questions. So I believe Carrie, I apologize to everybody. My laptop crashed out about 10 minutes into the talk, and I've had to reboot. So if there's anybody who has not, whom I miss for questions, just please send another question mark. I have questions at this point from Carrie Dick and Chris Harvey. So can we give Carrie Dick her mic, please, Shannon?
I might be on.
Oh.
I think my mic is on.
Okay, yes, your mic is on.
Okay. Yeah, I had a question about what was it about the verb forms that was difficult to get recorded? You mentioned a number of times that they wanted or that there needed to be supervision. Is that because there were fine phonetic differences that the recording wouldn't pick up, or was it more of a it's an obscure verb form.
Conjunct dubitative
Yeah.
form, and it's on its way out. That's why.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did you work with the speakers to did you need to train the new people as well on you know, when you're asking for, let's say, a dubitative or something, that they would be able to pull it out?
We
or was
already
it
had the
always working in
documentation.
context?
Sorry you didn't see the video, because we already have a verb conjugation app that was made with the Wemotachi dialect by Nicole Petitquet and myself. It's on the web, you can see it. And we had already added the Wemo sound recorded by Jeannette. Some forms are better than others, depending on the person and on the, as you know, those. If I were to ask my own children in French how they say the first person plural of the subjunctif imparfait, I'm sure they couldn't, but they could maybe come up with the third person. So there is always, I've done this work with Cree and Innu before, and there is always a chance to improve the documentation, because once you go to the recording studio and you record, you can see people going, what, no, oh no, I'm saying this, what do you say? So Nicole Petitquet, who is really the author, she's the Atikamekw, the director of the Atikamekw. She was there for every recording, and she was prompting the person. There is also a problem with people literacy level, where they tend, when you give them something to read and record, they tend to just read and not come up with the way they would say it naturally. So again, that's the kind of thing that was really, we may not use everything we've recorded, right? It depends on the paradigms. Did I answer your question, Chris?
Yeah, that's great. And also sort of hinted that that you can record the recording sessions as documentation as well. Like the side chat that goes on during recording is also good language.
Yeah,
That's
actually,
clever.
that's something we already had with sounds. Like I have beautiful recordings of mother and daughter arguing about how to say something for the Algonquin Linguistic Atlas in Northern Cree, a generational difference, which is not public, but, for archive, it could be good. But also it allowed for the sound editing that was done by Claire Owen. And because it just was too much, and they had a deadline with heritage and stuff, we got started late. The sound editor could actually watch the video, which is way more than just listening to the sound. So she was editing the sound file, but on another screen, she was watching the video of the recording, which was also helpful for if you don't have the person who records doing the sound editing.
Thank you.
We also had a question from Carrie Dick.
No.
Is the question in the chat by any chance?
She sent a message in the chat.
I do not have a question.
Oh, excuse me.
All right.
Okay. Am I on now? It's Marguerite. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I just, because I participated in these sessions, I participated in ones for with the Innu, and I've been invited to at least one with the Atikamekw, and I also am once a week for a couple of hours in touch with the Naskapi as we revise the Naskapi dictionary, which really needs it. This has been a very, very efficient way to work. It's much less stressful on me with respect to traveling and trying to cram everything into a couple of weeks in a community. Right now it's goose break in the north, and people go out to their cabins, but they come back in for the sessions to work with us. And I think they also find it very, very fun, interesting, and not too stressful to spend 2 hours talking about words. Again, the sessions are recorded. For Naskapi, we work with Bill Yancevich, the community linguist there. And it's we all enjoy it a lot. And frankly, we're getting more work done this way than we ever did by my, flying in for a few weeks, doing something, leaving. And so I hope it will continue under improved circumstances. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Marguerite. This is so true. And if I may add, what works well also is we leave on a question, say, we're going to see that next week. Whereas if you're in a week-long workshop, people are exhausted by the third day, right, Marguerite?
Oh,
and, yeah. Whereas here, okay, bye, see you in 2 days or see you next week. And in the meantime, people talk and they talk to their relatives and they ask questions and they discuss it. They mull over it, right? It's really beautiful. And also, I'm glad you mentioned that, Marguerite, we've had visitors, right? So the Atikamekw came to visit the Innu as guests in one meeting and vice versa. All the Innu wanted to come in the Atikamekw meeting, although we have very poor connection with the Atikamekw, and we had to splice them and say, you come this week and you guys come this other week. And so it's been creating some kind of, connection. I think as linguists, I think we find ourselves holding space for connection between people, and that's very healing. Like language and healing has always been a big desire, interest of mine, and I feel that sometimes that's what's happening when we maintain some virtual spaces like that.
I also wanted to comment on the ability of and the opportunity for people to correct themselves with recordings. In our Innu language project, we've been creating children's books, some written by community members, some translations from English of the Circle Project books, which were made by Barbara Burnaby in the 80s. And so I have worked with the people in the 2 Labrador dialects, and we have print editions. As it turns out, Labrador classroom assistants, Innu classroom assistants have difficulty reading aloud. And so we are preparing for them read-along MP4s of these books. So I've had, as people come down from Labrador and pass through, they come to my house and we record them reading as many books as we can jam in. What we've discovered is lots of grammatical mistakes. As people read aloud, they change what's on the page. So it's really an improvement. We do a fair bit of translations for different government organizations as well. But the best proofreading is by people trying to record them, be recorded reading aloud. And it's been really, really good. And it will be very helpful for the teachers the Innu teachers in Labrador and elsewhere to be able to have these read-along versions with them. And again, it's been, we haven't learned to do it over the internet, but we will eventually. Thank you.
So, any more questions? Please put a question mark in the chat or a flag in the Q&A. Right. Well, thank you very much, Marie-Odile and Cécile, for a fascinating and inspiring talk. It's been really great to have you here. And thank you for sharing this very important knowledge. So now we have a break. Half a moment. Trying to juggle many things on one screen here. We have a break for about 7 minutes, and then we will have a talk by Claire Barn. So take the time to get up and stretch, have a bite, and see you all shortly.